Now we will create another example 11 underscore JSTL. Open the folder and create a new JSP file index.jsp. In this example, I want to create a model class. To create a model class, first of all, we need to create web-inf folder. Inside the folder, create 3 folders naming classes, lib, and src. Apart from it, we needed a web.xml file that you can bring from any other application. Now let's create a model class. Always remember, do not create any source file directly inside the src folder. So because student is a model class, that's why I'm creating a folder models inside src folder. Just open the models folder, create a new source file student.java. Now remember, our first line must be a package declaration. Models, src is the root folder. Inside src there is a folder naming models, and inside the models folder we created student.java file. Now declare a public class student. Inside the student class, create few variables like private string name. Your variable must be private. We want to create the class in a more encapsulated way. Private variable integer age, private variable string college. We can create more variables, but for demonstration the number of variables are sufficient. Now we will create public getter setter methods according to the Java Bean convention. Public, if you are creating set method, then the return type should be void. Set name, right now we are creating a method, setter method for name variable. String name, parameterize this dot name, get name, return name. Now for another variable age, we will create again a setter and getter method. Public void set age, get age. Now we will create a getter setter for string variable college. Now the class is ready. Now we will create a constructor. Constructor must be public. We want to create a 3 parameterized constructor. Because we have 3 instance variables, so each parameter variable for your instance variable. This dot name, now the constructor is ready. We will now work with our index.jsp. Now open the index.jsp. Here we are going to create instances of student class, but before that we must include the page directive. And now the package name is models and the class name is student. So we are importing the class student, which is in package models. Now just create scriptlet. Inside the scriptlet I created a first variable, student variable. Now I want to create an instance of student class. Name Mohan, age 21, and college suppose SRIT. Now again I'm going to create another object. For that I created a reference variable s2. Now I'm writing an instantiation statement, means we are calling the constructor Ganesh, age 20, GGITS. Then again student s3, and here again we are declaring the variable s3, and we created another student object, name Sudhir, age 22, global. Now we have three student objects. We can use collection or an array to store all the records. For simplicity I'm just writing student array, and we are creating an array of student, and the element records are s1, s2, s3. Now we will save this array object into the session scope, session dot set attribute. We are saving the array session. The attribute name is r, and the value pair is the variable r that we just created here, an array of student we're supplying, and this is just a string name, attribute name. Now let's create a navigation link. The link and href pqr.jsp. Now we will create another JSP page, pqr.jsp. Now we will include a tag-lib directive. Now because we have number of student objects and each object has more than one properties, so to display the content, this time we will create a table tag, table opening tag, table closing tag, border 1 pixel, width occupy the 80% of your screen, align to center. Now inside table create a row, and inside the row in first line we will create table header 1, 2, 3, one for name, another for age, and then college. Now below the row we will show the data, but we are not sure how many number of student objects we have. For demonstration purpose I created 3 student objects, but in reality we will fetch the data from the database, and there can be hundreds of student records or 50 records or 20 records, depends how many records we are fetching from the data, how many records are filtered from our query. So because we are not sure, that is why we will create a loop. We are not certain how many rows to create, so we created a loop C for each, the JSTL tag C for each once again, and inside the C for each we will create a row. But before that, just declare the var attribute and then items attribute, and then after that we will declare the attribute here. Using EL, we are specifying the attribute. The name of that attribute was AR, and the value mapped with that attribute is an array. That is why we will access array records one by one. The array records are student objects. That means when you iterate over the array, one by one, the student's objects will be fetched, and the attribute name will be, suppose, obj. Now I'm going to create a row, and inside the row create a cell, one cell for name, another for age, and then college. So if the number of students, if there are 3 students in an array, then this loop will run 3 times. If this loop runs 3 times, then the loop will create 3 rows. In this row, now I'm going to access the page scope attribute obj, and because while iterating over the array, we are fetching one student object each time and saving it into the page scope as an attribute, and the attribute name is obj. That means in EL, when we access the obj attribute, which is a page scoped attribute, that will give us a single student object at a time. So obj dot name. Thereafter, for the same object, we will access the age property. Then we will access the college property, and now we are ready. But before that, you need to compile the student.java source file, tomcat web apps, then 11 JSTL webinf src. Src is the root folder, java c -d / classes. Then inside the src there is a folder models, and in the model we have a student.java source file. Just compile it. There is no error, and we are ready. Now first of all, we will reload the application 11 JSTL, and reloaded application successfully. Now 11 underscore JSTL, run this code. 11 underscore JSTL, run this code. We received the index page. Click over the link, and now the records are shown in a tabular form of all the 3 student objects. In this example, we tried to use the C for each in a more practical way. Now in the next example, I'll show you how to nest the C for each.